Hello friends. So we concluded the previous lecture by stating that, or the one before that we won't be looking anymore into the derivation of the components of stress which a region of interest experiences in a three-dimensional plate that is experiencing a loading condition, be it unidirectional or biaxial. So whatever it is, we concluded the lecture that was before the previous one, stating that we won't be looking anymore into the derivation, and we kept that word, and we saw how one can derive the components of the stress experienced by a region of interest in a three-dimensional plate that is experiencing a biaxial loading. So in the previous lecture we considered two cases, one involving biaxial tensile loading and the other involving a compressive loading in one axis and a tensile loading in the other axis. Even though I wanted to conclude this section of the module or the discussion on the components of stresses with the previous lecture, I thought I would give you some more information on the components of stresses or expand your view on the stresses that are imposed on a system. So far what we have been doing is we have been considering mutually perpendicular stresses. So irrespective of what the nature of the stresses is. For instance, if you consider the previous lecture, we considered two cases. Case one is mutually perpendicular tensile, and the case 2 is, even though it's mutually perpendicular, it's combination of tensile and compressive. So what we have not considered so far is the inclusion of shear. So what we have not done is we have not considered how, when you impose a shear load, the components of stress experienced by a region of interest varies. So in this lecture, possibly the last one in this module, we would like to consider, or we would wind this up by considering the influence of shear and how shear changes the components of stress, that is our expression for the component of stress that is experienced by a specific region of our interest which is inclined by an angle theta. So let us consider a case wherein there is a simple shear that is acting. So we have a plate-like structure. Let us assume this to be the plate-like structure. And in this we have a simple shear that is acting. So if you consider the simple shear and if you follow the convention, so if you distinguish this whole of the plate into 4 quadrants, something like this, then this would be your positive quadrant and this would be your negative quadrant. And in the positive quadrants, the direction of the stresses should also follow the positive direction. Only then your convention would be, or according to the convention, your stress will also be positive. So in this positive quadrant, the direction of the shear stress should also be pointing towards the positive direction. So in this case, it should be something like this, and here it should be something like this, and only then by convention this shear would be treated as positive. So this is the convention of shear stresses we saw few lectures before, and correspondingly here, this being the negative quadrant, the direction of the shear should point towards the negative direction. So that means this should be in this direction, so negative x-axis, and this should be in this direction, that is negative y-axis. So again in this case, by convention this would be positive, meaning we have now considered by convention positive forms of shear stresses. Now in this setup like this, we are assuming an inclined region, say AB, and we want to calculate or ascertain what is the normal component of stress and the shear component of stress experienced by this region of interest AB, which is inclined by an angle theta. So this representation here should give you what is the direction of the shear stress and what is the region that we are considering. So let us draw it separately with this representation of the shear stresses. Let us draw or illustrate our system separately. So we have a two-dimensional plate and you have your region of interest AB, A and B. So according to the convention, the positive shear is acting in this manner and here in this manner. So this is A and this is B, and the angle of inclination is quantified by theta, and this would be your C. So let us drop a perpendicular here as well and call this as D. And now this is a right angle triangle, these are perpendicular, so this is a right angle triangle. That means this angle here is say 1, this 1 is nothing but 90 minus theta, and this angle here say 2 should be the theta 2 or the angle 2 plus angle 1 should be 90 degrees. So that means the theta here or the angle 2 here is theta. So this is what we have here. A, B, C is a right angle triangle, and this is theta here. So angle 1 should be 90 minus theta. And since this angle, let me write the B here. So CBD is 90 degrees, and one of the angle is 90 minus theta. That is 1 is 90 minus theta. That means 2 is equal to theta. And similarly, this angle here would be 90 minus theta. Now, what we want to do is we want to calculate the load that is acting perpendicular to AB. So first we will calculate the load that is acting perpendicular to AB, and from that we will calculate the normal components of stress. So let us assume two loads that are acting perpendicular to AB. So one here, let us try to quantify two loads, one acting here and other here. These are acting perpendicular to our region of interest AB. So we have a region of interest AB, and to perpendicular to it at 2 points at A and B there are two loads acting on it. Now, so if we have a shear stress component, say tau, so whatever stress that is acting along this direction is tau, and also in this direction is tau. Now this tau is acting along this direction. So in this direction the tau is acting. I will use a different color. Initially the tau is acting along this direction, and this is between, if we want to calculate the force between AD, that is you have your A here and you have your D here, you want to calculate the force or the load introduced by the shear stress tau along AD, then we could write it as, or this shear stress along AD would be nothing but the load that is acting along AD into this area, that is AD. So we have our segment AD, and since what we are considering is a unit or a plate of unit thickness, it is the AD is an area, and along this area there is a load that is acting, and that we refer to as PAD. And now the stress acting along this AD would be this, and stress is nothing but the shear stress is nothing but PAD by AD, that is load by area, and this area is along the AD. Now this is acting along the red arrow, and now if you project it to here, we want to calculate a load, say P1, that is acting perpendicular to AB at point A, and if you want to project this load here, PAD, which is nothing but tau AD into AD, if you want to project this load here that is acting along AD onto this here that is along P1 direction, then it would act along in this direction, because the direction is along the red axis or the red arrow. So when you directly project it, it means it would act along this direction. So you have to introduce a negative sign so that the projection would render a load that is acting along P1. So the red arrow is the original direction of the load that is caused by the stress tau AD, and now what you are doing is you would like to project it onto the direction P1 that is perpendicular to AB. When you directly project it, it will be in the opposite direction, so you include a negative sign. When you do that, your projection P1 would be minus of PAD cos of this angle here, and this angle here is nothing but theta, because summation of this angle here and this angle here should be 90 degrees, because this is a normal. So this angle here and this angle here, summation of these two should be 90 degrees, and this is already 90 minus theta, and therefore this is theta. So this should be cos theta. Now when you substitute the PAD in this expression here, then you would end up with minus tau AD and AD cos of theta. Now tau AD is nothing but the overall tau that is acting along AD. So the tau AD has no, the AD subscript here has not much significance. So you can just write it as tau AD cos theta. Now what we have arrived at is the load that is acting normal to AB at point A. So that is the expression for P1 and we have derived it here. So similarly, we can consider the normal load at point B that is perpendicular to AB. So let us assume that to be P2, and you have a normal load that is acting at point B that is perpendicular to our region of interest AB. Now the shear stress we need to consider for it is along BD. So the shear stress that we need to consider is along BD. So from that shear stress we will calculate the load and then project the load onto this direction of P2. So we will use the shear stress tau, calculate the load, that is shear load that is acting along BD, and project it to the direction P2. So if you do that, this is the same what we did here. If you do that, then the load that is acting along BD is nothing but the shear component of the stress. This is the shear component of the stress that is acting along BD, then the area BD. So based on the conventional description of the stress, we have just multiplying or arriving at the expression for the load by multiplying the stress into the area, that is BD. So the load along BD is the stress into the area BD. Now again, because of the convention, since the loading direction or the stress acts along this direction, so the actual or the original direction of stress is in this direction. When you project it, your original direction would be something like this. It would be in the opposite direction. So you have to change the direction, and therefore we have to include a minus sign here. So therefore the load BD should have a minus sign, because to introduce the change in direction. And now the load P2 would be the load we are projecting the load along BD. Now by using the negative sign we have changed the direction, and now we are projecting this onto this. So it would be the load along PD and the cos of this angle here. Now we saw the angle 2 is theta. The angle 2 here is theta, and therefore this angle would be 90 minus theta. And now when you substitute that, this expression for the load along the normal direction at the point P perpendicular to our region of interest AB would be PBD cos of 90 minus theta. And if you substitute this load here, you would end up with an expression of minus tau BD sine of theta. So what you have ultimately arrived at is two loads that are acting at point A and B, which are perpendicular to the region of interest AB. So the ultimate load that is perpendicular to the overall region of AB would be P1 plus P2. So the two loads that we have so far considered, they are perpendicular to each other and each include one of the segments of the shear stress that is acting on the material. So this load here, the P1, includes the shear stress that is acting along in this direction. So let's just say horizontal direction, and P2 includes the shear stress that is acting along the vertical direction. So two components of stress, shear stress that is acting along the horizontal and the vertical directions, are included by the formulation of P1 and P2. Now the overall load that is acting normal to AB, so in this direction is the overall load that is acting normal to AB, is nothing but the summation of P1 and P2. So this overall normal load that is acting perpendicular to AB is summation of P1 and P2. If we include the expressions that we have derived, we can write it as tau AD cos theta and minus tau BD sin theta. So now we can take minus tau out and it will be AD cos theta plus BD sin theta. Now all that we have is an expression for the load that is acting perpendicular to our region of interest AB. Now if we divide it by the area AB, then what we are essentially doing is we are dividing it by an area that is perpendicular to the loading direction. So that means you are calculating the normal stress, and that would mean we can divide this AD and BD with AB. So you can write it as AD by AB plus BD by AB, or rather cos theta plus BD by AB sin theta. There should not be any 2 here, it's just theta. So now what we have is terms like AD by AB and BD by AB. So let us first consider what is AD by AB. So if you look the plot here or the illustration here, so the AD is here, this line is your AD, and what we have is AB is in this direction. So we have our AB and we have our AD. So this is theta, the angle 2 here is theta. So it should be then opposite by hypotenuse, then it should be sine of theta. So AD by AB is nothing but the sine of theta. And similarly we have BD by AB, which is nothing but this is the adjacent by hypotenuse, BD by AB, which is adjacent by hypotenuse, then it would be cos of theta. So from this expression, ultimately the normal stress that is acting perpendicular to the region of interest can be expressed as minus tau of sin theta cos theta plus cos theta sin theta. Now this would ultimately lead to minus sigma, or tau rather, 2 sin theta cos theta. And since 2 sin theta cos theta is nothing but sine of 2 theta, the ultimate expression for the normal stress that is acting perpendicular to the region of interest AB, when you have a plate that is inclined by an angle theta within the 2-dimensional or rather 3-dimensional plate that is experiencing a shear load, it would be expressed as minus tau sine of 2 theta. And now when you just consider the magnitude of it, you can get rid of this minus sign here, then it would be tau sine of 2 theta. So this is nothing but the stress that is acting normal to the region of interest when you have a plate, or rather a plane that is within a 3-dimensional plate, and there is just a shear load that is acting on that 3-dimensional plate. Now what we now need to consider is finding out or arriving at a similar expression for the shear component of stress that is acting along AB when there is a shear stress that is, or shear load is acting on the overall 3-dimensional material. So we have to find the shear component of stress that is acting along AB, a region of our interest, when there is a shear load that is acting on the overall 3-dimensional plate. So for that, to arrive at such an expression, we will again reconsider the initial schematics that we have considered. So this would be your plate, and there is the region of interest AB, and now the loading condition is referred to as the simple shear, meaning only the shear load is acting on the overall 3-dimensional material, and we saw the direction of the shear load is something like this, and the magnitude of the stress that is caused by the shear load is tau. Now we want to understand the shear component of stress that is acting along AB. So tau AB is what we want to find. Now we will take the approach that we took earlier. So we will try to find the load that is acting in along AB and try to use that to calculate the shear component of stress that is acting along AB. So previously we considered 2 loads, P1 and P2. Here we will try to consider the T1 and T2. So these are tangential load that will be acting along AB. And now we already have a straight line, a perpendicular line that helps us quantify theta here. So we have this AC here and D here that helps us quantify this theta here. So this angle here, we saw it is 90 minus theta, and this angle here is nothing but theta. Now the load acting along AD is PAD. We saw it is nothing but, since this is theta, this is 90 minus theta. So we have a load that is acting along AD, it is minus tau AD. So this is, since the direction is opposite, we have included the negative sign here. We want to have a load that is acting in this direction, so it is easy for us to project it here. So we have minus tau AD, and we have to project it to get PT1. So we have to project AD along this direction to get PT1. So in that sense, then PT1 would be PAD cos of 90 minus theta. So we have an angle of 90 minus theta here. We have a load that is acting along AD. You project it here. So PT1 is nothing but PAD cos of 90 minus theta. So ultimately this would be minus tau AD. We are substituting PAD here, and this would be sine of theta. So P1T, there is nothing but minus tau AD sine theta. And similarly, we have to arrive at an expression for another load PT, or rather PT2, that is acting in this direction. So PT1 is acting along this direction and PT2 is acting in this direction, and for that we need to consider the load that is acting along BD. So we need to consider this load and we have to project it here. So we saw the load that is acting along BD is nothing but minus tau BD. This we saw earlier. And similarly, when you want to consider or arrive at an expression for load that is acting, the tangential load that is acting along BD, so this is P2 or PT2, you want to arrive at an expression for this, then you project this onto this. The angle here is theta, so it would be PBD cos of theta. And ultimately you would end up with an expression that is minus tau PBD, or rather minus tau BD cos of theta. So we have an expression for the two loads that is acting along AB. So we have an expression for PT1 and PT2 that is acting along AB. So this ultimately, the ultimate expression for the overall tangential load that is acting along AB would be PT1 plus PT2. This would be the ultimate expression for the tangential load that is acting along PT. However, you should remember that these two loads, that is PT1 and PT2, are not acting parallelly, but they are acting opposite direction. So therefore this expression, instead of plus here, we will be having a minus, so it would be P1T minus P2T. Again, this minus is because they are not acting along the same direction, but they are acting in the opposite direction. So when you substitute these expression here, so what you would have is minus tau of, so we are substituting here minus tau AD sin theta, AD sin theta, and minus tau BD cos theta. So if you take the minus tau here as we usually do, it would be AD sin theta minus BD cos theta. So this is the load that is acting along the direction AB. Now from this load we want to calculate the stress that is acting along the direction AB. So it would be PT by AB, and this could be minus tau AD by AB sin theta minus BD by AB cos theta. theta. So we have two terms here, AD by AB and BD by AB. So if you look at this depiction here, we have AD by AB, that is cos theta, and AD by AB, that is sin theta, and BD by AB, that is cos theta. So again, you have to look at this triangle and relate what cos theta is and what sin theta is. Then you would find that AD by AB is sin theta and BD by AB is cos theta. So this is what we did here. AD by AB is sin theta and BD by AB is cos theta. So when you write that expression, then ultimately the shear stress that is acting along AB is nothing but minus of sin square theta minus cos square theta. Now cos square theta minus sin square theta is nothing but cos 2 theta. So if you substitute that here, then it would be minus cos 2 theta, cos 2 theta. And then if you take the absolute value of the stress that is acting along the plane AB, it would be, if you take this absolute value, this minus goes and this remains, then minus of tau cos 2 theta. The reason we want to consider this absolute value is because we want to be consistent with our expression here. So we have taken one minus value here by taking the absolute value of just the tau, meaning the direction, and here this minus comes from the interaction, so we cannot take that out. So the only negative sign that we can take is from the tau, that comes from the direction, this comes from the interaction, so that cannot be taken out. So ultimately you have an expression that is the normal expression, which we have derived it earlier, that is tau sin 2 theta. Again, when we ignore the initial convention or we consider the absolute values, and then the tau AB would be minus tau cos 2 theta. So these are the expressions for the normal and the shear components of stress when the three-dimensional plate that you are considering is experiencing just a shear load condition. So initially we considered mutually perpendicular tensile loading, and now what we have considered is we have ignored the mutually perpendicular tensile load and we have just considered the shear load here. Supposing you have a case wherein there is mutually perpendicular biaxial tensile. Along with that, you have your shear components that we saw in this case. So in that case, we can just sum up the expression for the normal stress component. So it would be 1 by 2 sigma x plus sigma y, and sigma x minus sigma y plus cos 2 theta and plus tau sin 2 theta. So all that we have done is this expression, the one that is highlighted in red, this expression we got from the consideration wherein we just assumed biaxial tensile loading, and the blue we just derived, and we sum it up for the case wherein you have mutually perpendicular biaxial tensile loading and along with the shear. So you sum those expressions up and ultimately you end up with this way of representing the normal stress experienced by a plane when you have both mutually perpendicular biaxial tensile loading. Along with that, you have a shear load acting on the material. Now, if you make the similar consideration to calculate the shear stress that is acting along AB, then it would be 1 by 2 sigma x minus sigma y sin 2 theta. Then you add this here minus tau cos 2 theta. So ultimately what you have arrived at is, you have arrived at two sets of expression for a case wherein there is mutually perpendicular biaxial tensile load and also a shear load that is acting on a three-dimensional plate with unit thickness, and the thickness is pointing towards us. So in that case, what we did is we combined the expression that we arrived at for different cases. When we consider the mutually perpendicular biaxial case separately, we had this expression highlighted in red. So we had these two expressions highlighted in red, and we added to that the expression we now derived for purely the shear stress case, and for that case we had these two expressions that we have now derived, and we included, and thereby what we now have is a cumulative expression for the normal stress and shear stress that a region of interest experiences when there is a combination of the mutually perpendicular biaxial tensile loading and a shear load. So this is the cumulative expression. Now what we want to do is we want to see if the Mohs circle under the biaxial tensile loading and also with the shear component would give us similar expression, is capable of giving us similar expression is what we want to check. If we are able to construct a Mohs circle that includes all these conditions, we want to see if from that Mohs circle we will be able to arrive at this set of expression. So that we will see in the next part of this lecture. So what so far we have done is we have derived at this expression for mutually perpendicular and the shear loading condition. So in the next part of this lecture we will see if Mohs circle is able to give us the similar or identical expression for the normal stress and the shear stress experienced by a region of interest within a three-dimensional plate that is experiencing a combination of biaxial tensile loading and shear loading. So we will see ourselves in the next part. Bye.